All right, we're live. What's going on, YouTube? What's up, Raider Nation? I'm Bubba the Raider coming at you today. Haven't made a video in a while. I've been pretty caught up with stuff. For those of you who are new, I'm a teacher. I'm at a new school this year, and it's been a challenge. It's been really, really good and really rewarding, but it's taken a lot of time and energy, as teaching does. I'm in my second year of teaching and still don't really know what I'm doing half the time, so figuring it out. Also got a new puppy, so if you hear a lot of stuff in the background, that's my two dogs playing. They sound aggressive with each other, but that's just how they play. And the main reason I haven't made a video is this season has sucked. It's been pretty awful. But I don't need to tell you that because y'all know. I am gonna rehash a lot of the stuff and kind of just give you my thoughts on how the season has gone thus far and where I think we're going in the future. Yeah, it's hard to see, but I'm wearing my new Tim Brown jersey that my lovely wife got me for my birthday because I wanted a new jersey. But there's no one on the Raiders whose jersey I want besides Derek Carr's right now. So yeah, I made the mistake of having Khalil, and now Khalil doesn't play, and I bought my little brother Mackie Amari's jersey, and he's not there. So Tim Brown will always be a Raider legend, so you can't go wrong, right? All right. So first thing I want to talk about is the tanking, and this has been super confusing because early on, I really genuinely believed we were tanking with the play calls in the fourth quarter of like a lot of the games. You even like the Rams game week 1, where it was kind of like we competed really hard for the first 3 quarters. When I think like the first 3 or 4 games, we went into the half with the lead, and third quarter leading, fourth quarter just like completely backed up, went home, like took our foot off the gas, did whatever we could do, it felt like, to lose the game. And I genuinely thought, okay, well, we're tanking. Like, that was when, after week 1, that was when I started to think, okay, Bosa, like, that's where Gruden's mind is, or Herbert maybe. I'm an Oregon Duck fan, so, but I love Derek Carr. So it was kind of like I started to get that little seed planted that we're tanking in week 1. But the first time I really felt like we're not tanking and we're just not a good football team was against the 49ers. Because it felt different. You don't give up 8 sacks in a tanking move. That's not something you do. You don't pull your quarterback out of fear that he's going to get hurt in a tanking move. Like, that was just a butt whooping. And then we beat Arizona last week, and I'm like, okay, we're clearly not tanking. And I'm okay with it. I want Nick Bosa as much as the next guy, but here's the deal is like, I also want to win. And people I've seen recently really, and one theme you're going to get here coming up is that I support Derek Carr fully. And if you didn't know that already, now you know. I support Derek Carr to the ends of the earth. I think he's the best quarterback we've had. Maybe potentially could end up being the best quarterback in Oakland Raider history if we stick with him. But people like to shit all over him, and it's like, I get it. He's not been great. He's on pace for a career year. And if you think about everything that's gone, and I'm not one to make excuses all the time, but I do make a lot of excuses for Derek Carr because there's a lot of things that have happened to him that are out of his control. He doesn't control the fact that he's had to learn 4 offensive systems in 5 years. Like, he's not in control of the fact that he's figuring out John Gruden's system, and he's figuring it out amidst having a horrible offensive line, amidst losing his debatably best wide receiver, and another wide receiver, and then all the wide receiver injuries, and then the running back in. Like, there's a lot going on, and we want to blame Carr for a lot of it, but I don't think that he's to blame for this season at all. And the fact of the matter is, a lot of people like to, and a lot of people are really crapping on him over his comments that he wants to screw up the draft pick. But what would you want your quarterback to say? Yeah, I want to lose football games. Like, what would imagine what those people who, uh, and if you're one of these people, please, like, tell me why. Tell me I'm wrong. Tell me, like, I want to hear from you. But imagine what they would say if he said, no, I want to lose every game and get a good draft pick. What is he supposed to say? Of course he wants to win football games. Of course he wants to go out there and beat the Chiefs twice. That's what I want. I want to spoil it for the Chiefs. Like, you know what? That's on Gruden to pick the best players and to mold them into something. And we're sitting here spending a whole lot of time, and I'm guilty of this myself, hardcore, because I love the draft, and I'm all over mock drafts and watching college football. Joey Bosa was supposed to be the number 1 overall draft pick, all the way up until like a month before the draft, and even going into it. Joey Bosa, he fell to number 3. Winning a few games might not mean that we don't get Nick Bosa, but I'll touch on that later. So I don't think that Carr is to blame. However, I have been considering lately, maybe we should move on from Derek Carr, simply out of respect for him. Like, this is a process. This could take a while. And is it really worth it to make him sit and waste a good chunk of his career waiting for us to be good? No. And there's a chance that it doesn't take a while. There's a chance that next year we draft right, we bring in the right guys, things go well. But I don't think Carr is to blame. However, if we move on from him, I hope he goes to a place and succeeds, because he's a great quarterback. He really is. He's played, this is his 5th year. 6th year? 5th year? 14? No, this is his 5th year. And after last week, he has 15 game-winning come from behind touchdown passes. So that's almost 1/5 of his career is winning football games in the clutch. Okay. Another thing I haven't made a video on to talk about is we traded Amari Cooper to the Dallas Cowboys for a 1st-round pick. And it's frustrating to watch how Amari Cooper and Khalil Mack's teams are winning. And with each win, the draft pick we traded for them gets worse and worse and worse. But I think it was a good pick, especially when you look at the fact that other guys like Demaryius Thomas went for a 4th, Golden Tate went for a 3rd. So to get a 1st for Amari Cooper is good value. I think it sucks, but it's a good deal. It left our wide receiver core right now is in absolute shambles, which is not at all what I had anticipated, because, when I made a couple videos back in the preseason, like when I went to the preseason game against the Seahawks. I live in Oregon, so I took my little brothers. We drove up to Seattle and watched the game. I would have said maybe that week or the week before that our wide receiver core was the strength of our team, with guys like Ryan Switzer and Jordy Nelson and Martavis Bryant and Amari Cooper. And I thought it was good, and now it's definitely feels like one of our biggest weaknesses. So we got Martavius is hurt. Jordy Nelson is hurt, although I heard Jordy Nelson might play today. I don't know. I haven't checked this morning. You had Brandon LaFell really step up and surprise me. He really stepped up in the wake of trading Amari, but he is done for the year after last week. Seth Roberts, I am not a fan of Seth Roberts. Have not been a fan of Seth Roberts. I did not think Seth Roberts needed to be on this football team. I love it. I love him when he's making those big catches and those big plays. He's won games for us, and I get that, and I respect that, and I love that. He is so inconsistent. He needs to drop 2 or 3 big passes in order to get fired up to catch one and make a difference. He's just too inconsistent, and he drops a lot of balls. One guy who I am super excited to see, and I'm going to talk about this going into today's game a little bit more, but I really, really like Marcel Aitman. And I would really, really like to see him be included in a large role for the rest of this season, and stepping up big time. He's a big-bodied receiver who can go up for those 50-50 balls and be a real red zone threat. And that's what I hope to see from him moving forward. We also brought up Saeed Blacknall, Keon Hatcher. Like I said, I was at that Seattle game when Keon Hatcher went nuts, and it was pretty cool to see. And he was on the practice squad of the Packers, so grabbed him from there. Being an Oregon Duck fan, if we need to bring in another wide receiver, which probably will happen at some point, someone will get hurt or whatever, I wouldn't mind seeing Josh Huff. He was one of my favorite Ducks. I know as a pro he's been really inconsistent, and he's been in some trouble, which I don't remember ever happening in college, but I'd love to see him kind of resurrect his career and help out the Raiders. So that's kind of where the receiver core is. Not good. It's hard to find something to be super positive about with just about any aspect of the Raiders right now. O-line absolutely sucks right now. Carr is under pressure constantly. We're not really getting much going on the run game. Jalen Richard has been really good, but he's been really good because we've been dumping off a lot of passes to him because we have to. Carr has to just get it out because you've got Brandon Parker playing injured, and he's not great. Not yet. I hope he can be, but he's not been. We've had a lot of injuries. We got Kelechi Osemele, who's been injured, and he's absolutely been booty. He's been trash. He's not been good at all. You've got Colton Miller, who's been playing hurt and keeps getting hurt. Not that great. They're both rookie tackles, playing in the AFC West against guys like Von Miller and Nick Chubb and Joey Bosa and Melvin Ingram and Justin Houston. It's a lot of guys. So they just have not been good. Gabe Jackson's been good. Rodney Hudson's incredible. But it might be a position we need to address, especially if we get rid of Kelechi Osemele. If this is a sign of not Kelechi Osemele being hurt, but of him just getting older and not being as good anymore, maybe we should move on. If it's just because he's injured and he fixes himself, he starts feeling better and he starts playing better, then let's keep him. And I wouldn't be upset if this unit got another year. I'm sitting here talking about how bad they've been, but there's a big learning curve in the NFL. If Colton Miller and Brandon Parker are learning and they go into this offseason knowing what they know, steel up their bodies, heal, and move into the next offseason a lot better, I'd be cool with it. So, our DBs have not been good at all. Garyon Conley had a pick airmailed to him. Carl Joseph had a pick, which was good to see. I love Carl Joseph. Daryl Worley's been okay. Rashawn Melvin has been gone. I don't know. If there's one spot that I can genuinely say is a bright spot for the Raiders right now, and it's the brightest spot I've seen in a while, PJ Hall and Maurice Hurst look like the real deal. The real deal. And not enough people are talking about them. Namely PJ Hall. Not enough people are talking about PJ Hall. They're just kind of yeah, He's been all right. Maurice Hurst has 4 sacks, which I think leads all rookies, or rookie D tackles for sure, in sacks. And the last Raider rookie, don't read too much into this, to have 4 sacks in his rookie season was Khalil Mack. And I think he only had 4. So if PJ Hall or Maurice Hurst gets another one today, I think he'll beat what Khalil Mack did his rookie year. Different positions. An interior pass rusher is harder to get sacks than an edge rusher. That's why you don't see, with the exception of Aaron Donald, that's why you don't see a lot of 15, 16 sack seasons out of defensive tackles. But they're also pretty good in the run game. So Maurice Hurst has been the bomb, but what people are not talking about PJ Hall. And PJ Hall is a guy in college. He blocked like 14 field goals, and he went off. He's a small school guy out of Sam Houston State. He was our 2nd-round pick. No one really knew who he was. He didn't go to the combine. He wasn't invited to the combine. He could have had 4 sacks last week himself. Like, he was everywhere. He is explosive. He was everywhere. So PJ Hall and Maurice Hurst look to be like a real good tandem and that's what John Gruden said. He said, we believe we got the 2 best interior pass rushers in the draft. And it looks that way. I genuinely believe PJ Hall, even if his numbers aren't that great, even if his Pro Football Focus rating isn't that great, I think PJ Hall is the bomb. I think he's really good. And Maurice Hurst has just been, I love that belly rub he does, It's pretty cool. Okay, so that's kind of the state of the Raiders this season. Going into today against Baltimore, Flacco's out. Excuse me. Flacco's out. They got Lamar Jackson. Last week he ran the ball something like 27 times, which I think was like a record for quarterbacks. So here's what I'm looking for today. Again, I'm not the quarterback of the Oakland Raiders, so I'm not going to sit here and say, like, we need to, like, I'm going to be so upset if we lose. Or, like, at this point, a win is good for our pride, it's good for our team, it's good for our learning experience, and a loss is good for our draft stock. I just want to see certain guys move forward in the right direction. And, of course, I always want to win. But there's positives to be drawn out of either outcome. But the things that I'm watching for today, there's 4 things that I'm really looking at. I'm looking at, can our defensive ends contain? Can they stay home and contain the edge, not let Lamar Jackson get outside? He's going to try and bounce stuff out. He's going to run, 27 times last week. So Arden Key, I'm watching hard today to see, is he getting sucked inside? Is he staying out and maintaining integrity on the end of the line? I'm looking for pressure up the middle. PJ Hall, Maurice Hurst, I've talked about. I don't think Justin Ellis is playing today. But either way, PJ Hall and Maurice Hurst, Arden Key, those are the 3 guys I'm watching. Those are the 3 guys I've been watching. Those are the 3 guys we took that felt good. I don't know. I feel like Lamar Jackson is a better passer than he gets credit for. However, I don't know if they're going to take a chance on that. So I'm really just make him throw, make him beat us passing. The other thing I want to watch is this is going to be a challenge for the same reason it's a challenge for Arden Key. It's going to be a challenge for Markel Lee. Ooh, that rhymes. Arden Key, Markel Lee. It's going to be a challenge for Markel Lee in his new role as strong outside linebacker, really flowing and trying to stop Lamar Jackson from getting outside and making big plays. So I'm watching him because our linebacking core has a lot of young guys that are looking all right now. Jason Kabinda, who I like, but it's also, I feel and have felt for the last 4 or 5 years, one of the, if not the biggest positions that we need to address in the draft. So I want to see Markel Lee step into this role and be really good because I've been impressed with him thus far, and I feel like he's had his two best games of his career the last 2 weeks playing this new role. I think that might have been a really good move that Gruden did. So today will be the challenge. Like, can he stop and help stop Lamar Jackson? And then I talked about it a little bit earlier, but I want to see Marcel Aitman be utilized big time in the red zone and throughout. Last week I was watching, and he got in there, and for about 35 minutes I was just screaming, throw Marcel Aitman the ball, throw Aitman the ball, throw Aitman the ball, throw Aitman the ball, throw. And my brother-in-law was laughing because I was like seriously getting frustrated because I want to see him. I want to see what he can do. And then finally we did, and he won us the game. So that was pretty cool. But a big reason why I want to see what he can do and I want him to develop is moving forward. You know, I talked about how bad our wide receiver core is. We have 3 first-round picks, and there's a really, really good chance we spend one of those picks on a wide receiver. And if Marcel Aitman can be the guy, I genuinely think the type of wide receiver we take, it will depend on how Aitman plays, right? So Aitman's a big body, 50-50 ball, not the fastest, not too slow, not smoking fast, but he's someone you can target. He maybe isn't as fast or as talented as N'Keal Harry, but if he proves to be that big body receiver that we need, then maybe we can go out and take a guy like Hollywood Brown, who's smaller and faster. He's Antonio Brown's cousin, and you know, get someone in the mold of Tyreek Hill, right? But then if he's not that guy and we want a more prototypical, bigger wide receiver, maybe a N'Keal Harry is the way to go. But I really think a lot of that, maybe it shouldn't and maybe it won't. Maybe I'm reading too much into it, depend on Marcel Aitman. But if Marcel Aitman can be that guy, then that's a good thing to know. So that's what I'm looking for today. Okay. And then I'm kind of going back and forth a little bit, but if you are a draft nut like me, and you're just looking right into moving forward, looking at a lot of these prospects, and envisioning them in the silver and black, like I have been, and where you like and who you don't, and what you think we need to do. I've been kind of talking a lot, and reading a lot, and watching a lot about the draft coming up, and what I genuinely think we need to do in rounds 1 and 2. It's not so much players, but I can give you some names of players I really like. But I think there's 4 positions we need to pick with our first four picks, and everyone always says best player available, and I genuinely believe that that's true to a certain extent. But also, like, you know, the Chiefs, if the Chiefs are on the board and Justin Herbert, for whatever reason, is still on the board and he's their best player available, they're not going to take Justin Herbert. They have a quarterback. So there's exceptions. But I feel like if we address 4 different positions and we take a middle linebacker, an edge rusher, a running back, and a wide receiver, not in any necessary order, and hit on those guys can be 2 offense, 2 defense, can be cornerstone building block pieces on different levels of your offense and on your defense. You know, you have a middle linebacker. I love Devin White from LSU. He played last night, if you watched that game, LSU, Mississippi State. He played something, it went into 7th overtime. It was like 72-74. He had 18 tackles, which is insane. I love him. I think that if we don't take Nick Bosa, if we mess up this draft stock and don't take Nick Bosa, Devin White, man. If we could have a shot at both of them, that'd be beautiful. But Devin White needs to be the guy. Edge rushers, you know, like I touched on, we play in the division with the best edge rushers, defensive ends there are. And we had the best one of all of them. And we don't anymore. So that definitely needs to be a position we address. Hopefully Arden Key can turn into one of those guys. But I think that's one we need to address for the other side. Wide receiver, I'm not going to rehash it. I just told you guys there's some guys out there that are really good. And even if Marcel Aitman proves to be incredibly talented and gifted, we still need to address it probably a couple times, once early and once a little bit later on. And then running back. Marshawn is probably not coming back. Marshawn, I can guarantee, will not come back if we are not playing in Oakland next year, which there's a real chance that we're not. Doug Martin's been whatever. He's been all right. Jalen Richard has been really good, but he's not an every down back. The guy who I really, really, really like is David Montgomery out of Iowa State. Go check him out. He's someone who's always moving forward. He's always moving his feet. He's always falling forward. So he's someone I would really like to see the Raiders take. I don't know. I feel like you hit on those four positions, that mixed with Derek Carr, you have a cornerstone building block at a bunch of levels. And even if you look forward, like if we move forward with Carl Joseph, who's shown some promise in these last few weeks, you've got one at the safety. You got Gary and Conley at corner. We have, let's say, Devin White at linebacker. Let's say Nick Bosa at edge rusher, even though he won't. Cleveland Farrell, Brian Burns, Montez Sweat. I really like Montez Sweat, right? So you got one at the edge rushing, then you got your quarterback, you got Colton Miller, you got a running back, you got a wide receiver. Like, that's a really good starting point with the team moving forward, not counting any free agents we bring in. Young building blocks on just about every level of your team. So I think those first four picks are crucial. Then you move forward. You have to hit. I've been a big advocate for this, and I really think it's something we've been absolutely awful at. Awful for as long as I can remember. You have to hit on mid and late round guys. You have to do it, at least a few. And the team that does it better than anyone else, and I've said this for years and years and years, is the Minnesota Vikings. I loved, and I watch this. I like to sit here and say who I loved, and it makes me look like, oh, I can totally spot these guys. I've been wrong about a lot of guys. Like, don't get me wrong. I've been really wrong. But guys who I was huge on, Donnell Hunter out of LSU, and I think he was picked like in the fourth round. Stephon Diggs, he's been really good. Like, the Vikings have hit on some guys in the mid to late rounds that have been spectacular, and that's what I want to see us do. I'm tired of watching us take second round players, and this is where I think someone pointed this out, Reggie McKenzie needs to go. And I'm starting to believe that more and more. And I had been, if you watch my videos from the start, I've been a Reggie supporter, but at this point it seems a little counterproductive. It's John Gruden's team, and you look at the way Reggie has drafted, and I never believed this until now, but he really has been all right. He's not been great. He's hit on a couple guys. Really, you look at it, he's really hit on 3 guys. But, he drafts the same way. He takes best player available or someone he thinks has a lot of potential in the first round. And in the second round is a guy who he feels has like a high ceiling but is very unproven. So a guy like Jihad Ward or Obi Melifonwu, very unpolished, or PJ Hall. Like, he's someone who maybe not a lot of people are talking about, but has a lot of athletic ability, a lot of potential. And he takes a risk in the second round. And we need to hit on these rounds. Like, besides PJ Hall, I think the last second-round player that is on our team is Derek Carr. Because Jihad Ward's not there. Obi Melifonwu's not there. Was Clive Walford? No, Clive Walford was a third. I'm trying to think. 14, 15 was Amari and Jihad Ward. Anyway, we're not hitting in the second round, let alone in the third, and the fourth, and the fifth, until maybe this year. You know, Maurice Hurst looks like a pretty dynamite pick in the fifth round. But that's where we need to be getting guys, not just in the first, not with these 5 first-round picks that we have over the next 2 years, but we need to hit in the third round and in the fourth round and in the fifth round. Like, that's where we need to find these guys. So hopefully we can start doing that. But I feel like first 2 rounds of this draft, you have a potential to bring in 4 key players at different roles and really spread the talent across the team. Because you can have the best defensive tackles in all of the world and have nothing at outside linebacker and nothing at safety and nothing at corner and nothing at defensive end and just get shit on all day long. The talent needs to be dispersed. And so that's what I think, right, as of right now, moving forward, needs to happen. So, all right, that's all I got for you right now. If you like this video, like it. If you didn't, dislike it. Tell me why. Leave a comment. If you're new here, go ahead and hit that subscribe button. I'm gonna try and come out with some more videos more frequently. I'm on Thanksgiving break right now, so it's been easier. So, but I got a pretty good idea of what I'm doing in my classroom moving forward, and so it shouldn't be too bad. So yeah, leave me a comment, subscribe, just win, baby.